This is actually a pretty dramatic rise. And it's because you've got all these people that are coming into the country and they can't find jobs. And even if they can find jobs, because there's not enough jobs to go round for everybody, they're taking it off Canadians. So it makes absolutely zero sense. This is like a broken economy just being made worse by the government. I mean, it is just absolutely crazy to see a country do this. Canadians are fleeing the country at the most rapid rate that we've ever seen as the government imports the third world into Canada.
Nearly 2 million Canadians are using food banks, a stark number that has Food Banks Canada issuing a warning.
And you also see that the economy is in fact imploding. So let's get right into this. Let's get into the data and everything like that. So Canadians flee the country in fourth highest volume in 73 years. So this isn't something to ignore, but the government is ignoring it, obviously. Canada is losing more and more residents to foreign countries. The latest data shows immigration rose 3% higher to 32,026 people in Q3 2023. That number is astronomical and hard to appreciate just on its own. Over the past 73 years of data, only 3 years have seen larger quarters: 2016, 1967, and 1965. And then they show it on a chart which goes all the way back to 1951. So you can see what is going on there. So it's kind of crazy, and you have to understand, why is this happening? You know, Canada is importing the third world right now, and it doesn't have jobs. It doesn't have the growth to support those people. So what's happening is crime is rising. Everything is getting worse. All your public services are just going to the dogs, essentially. And this has been happening slowly over the past decade anyway. It's just now the government has just gone full into it. Just absolutely insane amounts of immigration. And it is, quite frankly, an insane policy that most Canadians and most immigrants, even like myself, don't agree with. We are pro-immigration, most of us, but the thing is, we don't agree with this just rampant immigration for no reason other than to suppress wages at a time where we need wages to go up. It's absolutely insane what is happening, guys. You just can't believe some of the things. So Canadians are fleeing at an unusually rapid rate. Canada is set to have a banger of a year when it comes to resident outflows. There were 74,017 emigrants year to date, already hitting 79% of the total last year. The final quarter of 2023 can come in lower than the previous 2 years and still print one of the biggest years ever for outflows. Canada's outflows have largely been ignored since record population growth obfuscates it. Most policymakers would point to the net increase as a reason to ignore the issue. However, this dismisses an important point that is beginning to surface. If the people most familiar with a country don't see opportunity, how long can it attract immigrants? And I think that bubble is in fact bursting when it comes to things like immigration. It's just that a lot of people don't actually realizing. This was put out by the Daily Hive, and you actually dig into how many people came to Canada. It's quite frankly insane in 2023. So data from Stats Canada shows the country's population growth in the third quarter of 2023 broke a 66-year record. As of October 1, the country's population topped 40.5 million, which is an increase of over 430,000 people from July 1st, according to Statistics Canada's latest report. So as they pump immigration more and more and more, the quality of the people that you're getting is going down and down and down. The immigration system was broken when I went through it in 2016. The thing is, the immigration system is far too much tilted towards those on temporary work permits, things like student visas and everything like that. And it's also tilted far towards the people like asylum seekers and refugees. Don't get me wrong, I feel for those people, but when Canada can't even look after its own people, why is it trying to bring refugees and migrants in? They don't have a clue that the Canada they're arriving into, many of them have ended up on the streets of this country. So it's a disservice to them, and we're also doing a disservice to ourselves. So it makes no sense other than to destabilize the country and obviously just compress wages, keep wage growth low, which is what the government and the central planners, people like the Bank of Canada, that's what they want, unfortunately. And it is kind of crazy. So I also read about this. Canadians are losing faith in the economy and it's affecting their perception of inequality. So let me read you this quickly because it's another survey. These surveys are always interesting. Nearly half of Canadian workers feel as though economic conditions in Canada are poor, according according to our survey of 2,500 Canadian workers in September of 2023. And another 38% said they believed economic conditions are only fair. So basically, more than half of those people are saying, hey, the economy is poor. It's in poor condition. And they would be right, because when you actually look at things like this, you've got millions and millions of people that are heading to food banks right now in Canada. It's absolutely crazy to think the amount of people who are in desperate situations that we're importing, and you can't even look after your own. It's utterly ridiculous. It leads to rising crime. It leads to higher taxes and all these different things, because these services have to be funded that these people depend on. So, you know, it's kind of crazy, and it leads to more people out of work, obviously, because the job market, as I'm going to show you right now, cannot support the amount of people that we're actually bringing into the country. And this is something that the government doesn't really seem to care about. And the government is obviously stupid. Trudeau, Freeland, they have a different agenda. I think it's this globalist movement, because you see the same thing happening in the United States, in the UK, in Australia, New Zealand, all these Western countries, even in Europe. You see the same things happening where they're just pumping migration. So anyway, Canada job vacancies, they're coming down right now, but that doesn't draw the whole picture for you. When you look at unemployed people, that has actually started rising pretty dramatically in 2023. If you take this out, this is actually a pretty dramatic rise. And it's because you've got all these people that are coming into the country and they can't find jobs. And even if they can find jobs, because there's not enough jobs to go round for everybody, they're taking it off Canadians. So it makes absolutely zero sense. This is like a broken economy just being made worse by the government. I mean, it is just absolutely crazy to see a country do this. It is unbelievable. And to see how much Canada has gone downhill over the past decade is just kind of crazy to me, looking back now and reflecting on that. So anyway, that's what's happening with unemployed people. And then if you go over to here and look at the employment rate, you can see that that is going down as well. So less and less employed people in the economy, and we're actually heading lower than 2020, if not already lower than 2020 right now. So it shows you the type of economy that we're in. A lot of people are actually being lied to right now, and they think everything is rosy, everything is fine. And then this kind of really tells a story more than you think, because the productivity that is declining in Canada, that really tells a big story. Because the thing is, guys, if there's a lack of incentive for you to work, productivity is going to fall. And there's definitely a lack of incentive, and this is just going to get worse and worse and worse, in my opinion, because you have to look at the new people who are entering the labor force. They're thinking, I'm never going to own a home. You know, I just want to get out of this country. And essentially, what does that lead to in terms of productivity? It doesn't lead to good things. And then you've got essentially these wage slaves who unfortunately are being brought into the country. You know, they're living in like slum conditions, essentially. They're living in terrible conditions. And they're actually, because of that, bringing the standard of living down for everybody, which makes no sense. It's like Canada is in a country that is in a state of decline. And I don't think there's any easy way that you can turn around a country like this that has been going through this for over a decade now. I don't see that governments are just going to suddenly come in and they're going to change the way things are going. And if you look back to this article here as well, it says these findings are unsurprising given the poor state of the Canadian economy and the growing pessimism among Canadians towards it. Inflation and interest rates both remain high, and job openings are struggling to keep up with the growing labor force. Exactly. And the growing labor force is due to the fact immigration. Canada is pumping this immigration plan that it has. It makes zero sense. It doesn't have the economic growth to support it. It doesn't have the jobs to support it. And mostly people have been misled. This immigration is designed to keep wages low. The oligarchs love the immigration being high because companies like Bell, these large corporations, Loblaws, all these big monopolies, they can just pay people And they like that. They enjoy that. You even saw with Lululemon how they were publicly saying, hey, if you don't give us those foreign workers, we're just going to leave Canada. So they were blackmailing the government essentially. And you don't think that happens with corporations like Loblaws, TELUS, Bell, Rogers, all these companies, all these monopolies. You don't think that they're doing exactly the same thing? And they have even more power because they're even bigger. The problem in Canada is all of the power is held between a concentrated small amount of people. It's very similar actually in its structure to the USSR, unbelievably. So it's kind of crazy when you draw that comparison, but it is so true. So as job vacancies tank, as you have unemployed people that goes up, as you have the population that's pumping higher, the employed rate going down in the economy, productivity tanking, those things, they don't lead to a good place, guys, do they? So anyway, we'll continue to monitor and see what happens here. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. If you're looking for a VPN, go to expressvpn.com/market mania. That's the VPN I use to get around Trudeau's censorship bullshit. If you've enjoyed it, you might like this video here. You might also like this video here. I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye.